Ahoy, and welcome back to another episode of the Captain's Log. My name is Rixley. I'm a systems thinker and strategic designer, and I work with leadership and their teams to navigate change and design systems that support health, happiness, and fulfillment. And I'm back again for the Captain's Log. I took a little break and I was really focusing on the Design on Purpose podcast, which I was releasing an episode every week. And I set myself a challenge to do that. I actually started this Captain's Log thinking, it would be a great idea to get one long-form piece of content out every week. And I thought that the Design on Purpose podcast would be unmanageable in terms of like trying to do that all on my own, record guests, book venues, and get an episode out every week. But I've actually managed to do that. So it was really tricky for me to kind of manage this podcast and then also the Design on Purpose podcast. But what I have noticed is that that I've actually been really missing out from not doing these Captain's Log journaling kind of podcast editions because the actual process of actually doing this Captain's Log is super, super beneficial. Just sitting down at the end of the week and reflecting on my week's learnings has really helped me to keep structure. It's really helped me to kind of iterate on my process. And, regardless of the time, energy, and effort that this takes to put together, it's actually the whole process of actually the reflection and integrating my learnings that's the real value of this podcast. And if I can share any learnings along the way that can help anyone else out there, as they grow their business, build their channels, and kind of, maybe even someone who might find this in some years' time and kind of see hopefully the journey that I've gone on to get where I am in 5 or 10 years' time. So I think I really need to keep doing these Captain's Log. It's not really about anyone listening to these or not. It's really more for my own process. I'm also learning a lot through these in regards to how I learn about cameras, setup, lighting, and all of that. And you can see I've kind of made some improvements here with my little setup, my Captain's Log setup here in my studio. It's just like all of that kind of feeds into the other aspects, client calls, podcasting and everything. So I need to continue on with these. And it kind of makes sense from a point of view of like, if you think about, religious or ancient practices where, you would usually have a day of the week where you'd have some kind of reflection. Go to church, think about your life, have a bit of contemplation, integrate some things. And, I live in Bali, Indonesia, and actually they just had this Nyepi Day celebration, which is a day of silence. And it's the way that they celebrate their New Year's Eve. And it was just really profound to have one whole day of complete silence. Everyone has to be indoors. There's no lights. There's no electricity supposed to be used. You're not supposed to do any work. You're just really supposed to sit for one day in silence and reflection. And, I think that there's something really, really valuable about that. And just to have the whole island here of Bali, Indonesia, actually practicing Nyepi Day, the energy shift was incredible. You could really feel people going into that mode of reflection. So super valuable to do that. And I've have this template in my Notion, which I use every week to actually plan these podcasts and do my weekly reflection. The second thing that I've learned over the last week is around pendulums. I've actually just started reading this book. It's called Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland. I think it's quite an old book. It's been around for some time. But he's talking about that the fact that the world is made of pendulums. And what exactly is a pendulum? Well, in chapter 2 of the book, Vadim Zeland describes a pendulum as energy structures that manipulate people's thoughts and emotions. These destructive pendulums thrive on conflict and drain energy from individuals who engage with them. To avoid their influence, it's important to recognize pendulums and detach from their control. So this is super valuable, actually. I've discovered this, and it makes so much sense. So Vadim is saying that the world is made up of pendulums. And pendulums, are things like, let's say, groups of people. Like your gym could be a pendulum, your family's a pendulum, your church could be a pendulum, your political party, or a belief system could be a pendulum or is a pendulum. Even a repeating pattern of thought in your mind is essentially a pendulum. It's like anything that you're kind of like feeding energy to. And pendulums will try and really keep you hooked in, and they don't care whether you're thinking positively of them or negatively of them. It doesn't really matter because you're still giving them attention and energy. And yeah, this just really got me thinking and kind of doing a catalog about like what pendulums I'm actually a part of. And maybe some pendulums are actually beneficial to you to some point. Like, for example, I'm at a gym. I'm surrounded by a lot of healthy, happy people, focused on training and looking after my body and my health. And it seems to be benefiting me. But at some point, could is that pendulum destructive? Do I stay there too long and don't experience other things or whatever it is? But you find that you'll have all these pendulums. And yeah, like pretty much everything around your life is part of one of these pendulums. And then it got me thinking into my next learning, actually, this around ideas in a box. I had this podcast that I recorded with a guy, and we talk about some, like some topics that we would have essentially, be considered a bit controversial. And so I've decided not to release the podcast, but it got me thinking around particular things around, beliefs. And, because I had a few conversations with people around some of these topics because I was kind of thinking about this podcast and, whether I should release it or not. And nothing was really like, there was no negative talk really of anyone in the podcast or any group of people, but I just think like from my experience this last couple of weeks in talking to people about some of these topics, what I've found is that people can get extremely triggered by certain things. It's like these triggers are there. And then it kind of got me thinking about this ideas in a box thing. It's like I'm the type of person that I like to explore ideas. I don't like to just get a whole group of ideas that maybe belong to a particular group or whatever and basically take on all those belief systems. I kind of like to treat it like a bit like a salad bar, like, okay, some of this stuff makes sense, some of this stuff makes sense, and some of this. But what I find is that with certain groups that you subscribe to, whether it's some kind of movement or group or whatever, you tend to take on the belief structure or system like from that whole group, and then you can't basically just take a sampling of things, or like because people within that pendulum or that group, they're automatically going to assume that because you are a part of that group that you have all of those belief systems from that group. And then, it might be difficult for you to have other beliefs or voice other beliefs or maybe challenge ideas from that group because you're worried about being kicked out or being ostracized from that particular pendulum. And it's really impossible. I found it really impossible to talk to these the kind of people in a logical way and explore ideas that are outside the box without them flaring up or becoming super triggered. And I really don't like the idea of buying into this particular package bundle of ideas, like I mentioned. I also think it's really important to reserve the right to change your mind if you do have, because you basically make decisions or you have your beliefs based on information and experiences that you've had or information that you have up to that point. And I think that people get stuck in ideas and they don't want to be wrong about things, so they hold on to a particular idea sets that may become outdated because they don't want to be wrong, or they're too proud or stubborn to let go and choose something different. And the circumstances change, or if they gain more understanding or information, they're still unwilling to change their ideas or belief sets. And they kind of hold on to these things. So, I think that can keep people stuck in living in authenticity, which essentially I think is the root of suffering. So a little bit obscure there. There's a few little things there, but those are my 3 kind of learnings from this last week. And then the format of this as well, there's 5 things that went well. So this last couple of weeks, I've started this morning kind of catch up, circle up with a couple of my friends here who live in this complex, and in the mornings at 9 a.m. we get together and we talk about our projects. So we talk about what we're working on, what we did yesterday, what we completed, like a little scrum kind of thing, what we're getting done today, and if anything's blocking us, and we kind of help each other kind of work through ideas and projects and keep each other accountable. And it's been really productive, actually, really, really fun. So that's something that's really working. I'd like to try and scale that, actually. So I'm kind of looking at ways that I can scale that, include other people in this little Scrum circle up that we're doing. The second thing is I released my first digital product. It's a second brain template or system, and it in Notion, and it also includes this template that I use to actually plan this podcast and actually reflect on my week. So that has been really amazing, because I went on this like 3 or 4 month rabbit hole with this second brain system, learning the para method and learning how to put together, a system for organizing all my thinking and creating content and everything, and organizing my client projects and everything that I'm working on. And it's so cool that you can work on something like that, and then instead of just letting it go, by the wayside, or it's just been something that you've done for your own exploration and learning, it's so cool to kind of package it up into a digital product and release it, and then help other people too. So I've been running these little second brain workshops with people, helping them to set up their second brain system, and it's so epic. It's just like I get a real kick out of, seeing my Gumroad sales go through, not because of the little cash injection, but it's more around like, oh, cool, like people are buying this product, it's useful, and people are digging it, and it's so epic. So yeah, I've been really, really getting a kick out of that. So I've got so many ideas for digital products. I'm going to keep doing those. The third thing is that I've been putting together the leadership community. I know I've been talking about this for some time, but it is something that I've kind of iterated on quite a few times already, and I know I haven't had really many people in there, but I have had a couple of people just doing my modules, just to kind of test them out. And so now I've written my first kind of free course on the leadership community, which is really a program to design your life. I'm calling it Chart Your Course. And I've created this little map. I have mentioned it here on the Captain's Logs before, but I'm going to release, there's going to be 9 modules, I think, or 9 parts to that course. And each one's like a little assignment that you got to do, a little short assignment. And by the end, you get your dream articulation. You get a 10-year goal. You get a 1-year strategy or plan, and then you also will create some constraints and a project that's going to get you to goal. And then the community is going to help each other start working on their projects. So I've been writing all my YouTube scripts and getting all my stuff together for that course. And that has been, that's been taking a lot of focus. So hence as well, like, why I'm getting myself set up here properly to record videos, because I'll be recording the videos for my course here in this little environment here. So I hope you like this little environment that I've set up. The fourth thing is I've taken on another client, or just a one-on-one client, helping a friend, client of mine, put together an online e-commerce store. So over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be working together on that, which is very exciting. I love supporting people to really tap into their purpose and do the thing that they love. And you would have noticed that the quality of this video is dramatically, there's a dramatic improvement, I would say. I hope you noticed, but I've actually just bought a new camera for my studio. This is a Sony ZV-E10 2 with a Sigma. I think it's a 1.4 like aperture lens, 16 millimeter lens. So the image is a lot sharper. I think it's looking pretty good here. And I always want to keep improving the quality of these videos, and I think that's looking pretty sharp. I look forward to having a look at this in Premiere later when I edit this. And the fifth thing is, I also yesterday I went and did a little water blessing in Ubud, and that was really cool. I went with my friends who I'm doing these circle ups with. And it was a nice little way to kind of cleanse the energy and get ready for this next stage of my business, where I'm going to be putting up this online course, and I'm very excited about that. And then I've got to get moving a little bit this week with the Back to the Design on Purpose podcast. I got to keep moving with that because I was on a good run, and then I when I went to the wayside a little bit there with the with not wigging out about whether to release this podcast or not, which I've decided not to. I don't want to poke the bear there, to be honest. I think I just would rather stick to my lane in a way, in terms of like the content that I want to be creating around business and purpose, and working with people to create businesses that are really about them fulfilling their purpose and their calling, and I think I'm going to just stick to that. So I've got to get back to the Design on Purpose podcast. I've recorded like I've got another like 5 episodes or so on my drive there that are ready to edit. And gosh, I've been using some of this AI software. I've just found this. My cousin sent me a link to this software called AutoPod, and it's a plugin for Premiere, and it just basically you put it in, you tell it how many cameras you got, how many speakers and everything, and it just cuts the podcast in like 5 minutes. It's pretty wild. It used to take me hours and hours. So I've been playing around with that. It's so crazy what you can do with all these AI tools. But other than that, everything is good here. I'm just continuing on. I really look forward to getting this leadership community open. I'll put a link down here as well for the second brain system that I've put on Gumroad if you want to check that out. Do subscribe to the newsletter as well, because I'll be putting out a newsletter. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Plenty of fresh content on the Design on Purpose YouTube channel, so do check that out as well. And if you haven't already, do apply to join the leadership, which will be opening very soon. And other than that, I hope you guys have a good week. Hold fast.